Greetings to all of you. And we're in the midst of this, well, where I am, it's a soft quarantine. You can still kind of get out, move around, and to be honest, where I am, down south, things are still pretty much like 90% of what they usually are. I mean, if you go out, if I went out right now, be plenty of people driving around at the stores. I actually went to the hardware store earlier this morning. I got myself this cable tow hitch, and I wanted to use that for exercise. I was trying to think of a way to be able to work my back and my legs, and I had some extra weights lying around, so I latched them all up, and I'm just going to drag them around the yard. So we try to get some exercise in doing that. I don't know how successful that would be, but it was short money, and I already had the weight plates. So that's what I'm going to do. I noticed that I have a new subscriber. So thank you, whoever you are. I didn't get a notification. I just noticed that there was another sub. And I was like, oh, now I feel like I have something to live up to now. I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. And whoever you are, you must like what I'm doing. But thank you for subbing to me. I appreciate it. This is just going to be kind of a random thoughts video. I didn't really have a specific topic. We'll see where I end up. In regards to the exercise and the weight training, I got recommended a video about these guys that are like weightlifting champions. And they're the ones that they can bench press like 650, 675 pounds. I think those are like world record bench presses. And I guess there's this beef in the extreme weightlifting community about these two guys. I'm gonna pull up this thumbnail for them, the video that I saw. It's funny, in one of the videos they were talking about how one of the guys uses fake weights, and I guess he has like a pretty big Instagram following. From an image standpoint, he just jacks up these weights to make it look like he's pretty buff anyways, but I guess his whole thing is he wants to be considered like the strongest person in weightlifting, and so he's been getting called out. I don't really care about any of this. It was one of those kind of rabbit hole like video journeys on YouTube where I started watching one thing, and next thing I know, I'm just watching these videos of these like insane weightlifter guys that are just calling each other out. And one of the videos actually mentioned this website that you can go on. It's literally called fakeweights.com. I mean, there are actually a bunch of reasons why you could use like fake weights, and it says it right on the site. I think like the most common thing would be if you needed them as like some kind of prop. It seems like it would be most useful in like a comedy video where you can have like a little kid, he or she can bench press like 300 pounds, something like that. If you you just had that bar just like jacked out the side so it looks like you're bench pressing like 600 pounds. Unfortunately, the weights themselves, I mean, they are called fake weights for a reason. So like a 45-pound plate only weighs like 3 pounds or something like that. And the thing is, if they made them so that they weighed, maybe like 10 pounds each, if you got enough of them, you could still get in a decent workout, but make it look like you're getting in like this monster workout. And maybe from a psychological standpoint, that would make you want to lift more. These are the conversations that are just occurring in my mind. On the dating front, as I mentioned in previous videos, I'm not actually dating. I'm not looking for, I don't know how you'd even go about looking for, a date in this particular juncture in time. But I still get messages from women on a pretty regular basis. And what I've noticed the past couple of weeks, I would say in the last 2 weeks, the number of women in their late 50s and kind of early to mid 60s that have been sending me interest and messages has gone up pretty dramatically. And I actually get a fair amount of messages from much younger girls, or girls in their 20s. I actually got one from a 19-year-old, or at least she claimed to be 19 the other day. But I get a fair amount of messages and contact from girls in their 20s, like all throughout the 20s and 30s too, and 40s, I guess. So that would be like the normal volume that I get. I haven't contacted any person through a dating site in I think over a year. But I have noticed that the older women, 60 plus, late 50s and 60 plus, they've been hitting me up recently. And I don't want to sound macabre or anything, but I almost wonder if they're like, oh, if it's as bad as they say it is, I don't want to die alone. I hope that's not what it is. When I'm thinking about, just the traditional man and women relationships, it's pretty common knowledge that when we think of currency, like for a man, his currency is his status and his wealth. Looks certainly they certainly matter in the hookup culture. But in terms of like a long term relationship, I think wealth and status actually matter a lot more. And then the currency that women bring to the table is their youth and their beauty, their appearance. Both sides, kind of get angry at this sort of thing. Like, there's a lot of men out there that, they're not breaking the bank, they have a lot of money, and so they're just kind of written off by the women. There's a lot of women out there who, aren't being considered just because of their age. I really don't want to bash anyone. I don't want to make it sound like I'm attacking anyone, but I guess I kind of know how women feel. If you got like a young girl, she's like, maybe she's like 20, 25, whatever. And then you got a guy in his 50s who's like sending her messages. Like, I could see how she'd be like all weirded out, be like, ugh. Because I have to admit, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, when I see a woman that's like in her 60s and she's like sending me like winks and like little hearts and stuff like that. Yeah, I have to say I'm not that into that. Yeah, unfortunately, that's just kind of how the way our society is. And if I'm just being real and honest about things, there's just no way. I don't even think that if a woman is like 60 and she had like a ton of money, like how old is Madonna? Like there's that video of Madonna that's going around now where it doesn't even look like her. Like she's had so much plastic surgery that her face is unrecognizable. She's sitting in her bathtub, but she's talking about how like the virus has kind of leveled the playing field and we're all equal. She's worth like $800 million. And she's made this video where she's in this like immaculate bathtub. And she's like the voice of the common people. It's so funny. Your average 6-year-old woman, man, if she was worth $800 million, I don't know, man. I still don't think I could get in there. I don't think I could do it. Although I say that, I have to admit, a couple years ago, I was visiting my dad in his retirement community. All they do down there is just eat. They go to nice restaurants and they eat. I enjoy the restaurant part of it, but when it's just me and everyone else there at the table is in their like 70s, like pushing 80s, I don't really have that much in common with anyone. But there was this one couple that we had breakfast with this one time. The lady was very friendly. The guy, it was a guy and his wife. I have to admit that I was kind of checking her out. I was checking her out more from the standpoint of I could see that, when she was in her like 20s and 30s, like she must have been really attractive. I don't mean for that to sound insensitive. I'm just trying to be realistic. I mean, people age and they don't look as good. Even at her age, I'm guessing she was like late 60s, maybe 70, I don't know. But for her age, she was still pretty well put together. She dressed real nice. Yeah, so at the time, my thought was, I bet you when she was like 25, like she's probably turning all the guys' heads. And now that I'm getting hit on by all these like 60-year-olds, 60 to 64, I think 64 is like the oldest, because I'm weird. It just popped in my head. I started thinking back to that lady. Would I be able to do it? Like, what if... Because I remember one thing she had said to me, because when I was down there visiting with my dad, it was just me by myself because I'm single. Yeah, one of the things that I did with my free time when I was there visiting was there was this big, like, beautiful golf club complex that they live in. And, yeah, I'd take, like, a bicycle out for rides every day. I'd go for walks every day. And she had said, oh, I mean, this is where we live. You should stop by sometime. And I had just met them, too. I thought that was kind of weird. But now, in my kind of twisted, like, over-sexualized head, and now with all this free time to think up all these weird things, I'm like, I don't know, could I do it? You know those old-timey bikes with the really big front wheel? Like, it doesn't look like it would be that comfortable, but maybe once you get on it, it's, like, a lot of fun. Aren't any of you kind of curious what it'd be like to be with, like, a woman, like, in her late 60s? I mean... I feel like it would be like getting intimate with like an old catcher's glove. I know it sounds horrible. I mean, you could probably bust it right in there, right? You wouldn't have to worry about her getting pregnant. What if she did get pregnant though, and then it was like a healthy baby, and that 65, 68-year-old woman, she was then heralded as this medical miracle, and then the internet just posted pictures of your dumb face everywhere, like the guy in his 40s who like knocked up the 68-year-old. So to kind of redeem actually this isn't going to redeem me at all. This last story is about another single mom I had dated back when I was around 30 years old, and it was a relationship that wasn't going anywhere. I kind of think that a lot of times you know from the start you're like, I mean, she had a kid was like 8 years old, I think, when I was with her, and I avoided the flags once again. She was really attractive, and yeah, I remember one night we were all up in her bedroom, me, her, and her 8-year-old son, and we were just watching some like family movie together, and the kid was like way into it, and about halfway through the film, my ex, like, she kind of leaned over and she whispered in my ear. She said, "When he falls asleep, you carry him into his bedroom, and then we can have some fun." I was like, yes. So I was all excited. I was like, come on, kid, let's get the show on the road. So the movie ended. He was asleep, and I remember the girl. She kind of like tapped my leg. She's like, okay. So, so she wanted me to carry him into his bedroom. And if there was ever an indication as to me becoming the father of the year, this was it. I was like, yes. So I picked up her kid, and I didn't really have any experience, with like young kids that age. I picked him up and I held him. I held him the way you would hold like a 3-foot alligator. I cut my hands around him, and I was holding him away from my body. And the way I was holding him, like, he was looking directly up, like at the ceiling, but he was asleep. And I was like very gently, like, trying to carry him. And I remember halfway to his bedroom, he like woke up, like with this like shocked look on his face. And then he stared at me, and I froze, and I stared at him too. And then we were just looking at each other. I don't think I said anything. And at that point, I was just like, all right. So I just walked faster, and I dumped that kid like in his bed. And yeah, I went back to my lady's room. We closed the door, had some fun, and that was that. Every time I think back to that story, I'm surprised I didn't drop him, because he was shocked. He was like, looked up, and he just saw this like strange guy. I mean, he knew who I was, but yeah, he just looked up, and he was like levitating in the air, because I didn't know I wasn't gonna carry him, the way like I guess a normal person would, where you like pick up a kid and they'd be like leaning against your chest, and you'd have your like one hand underneath supporting them, the other hand on the back. And I told you, man, I was holding them like not the way you should hold a kid. It was like this hold of disgust or fear, like, hey, don't wake up, I'm gonna go bang your mom. But he woke up, and then I was just like, and fortunately I didn't drop him. And yeah, he was deposited in his room, and then I went to go have some fun with his mom, and it was a very sordid period of my life. And I guess we're gonna end it there. Roll the outro. Don't forget to bike, snare, and eat pie. You know what I mean.